Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This video we are going to take a little break from the Cobra and I want to get back to work on the Jeep. A couple things I'm going to do here. First, after it sat for a little while, the lift that I put on a few months ago, the spacer blocks that I used, looking at it, the rear is a little bit lower than I'd like it to be. It's level or possibly a little low in the rear. I want it to be a little bit higher in the rear. I kind of miss having the rake after all. So I have some new spacers I'm going to be putting in. I had previously put in 1.5 spacers or 0.75 spacers. The new spacers are 1.5 spacers. So adding about 3/4 inch to the back. On top of that, it's just going to be some general maintenance. I'm going to be taking this thing on a road trip here coming soon. So just need to get tires rotated, cabin air filter, putting a K&N air cleaner in it, just because I want something that's reusable and cleanable based on the off-roading I'm doing. It's getting pretty dusty and whatnot. So instead of just getting the paper throwaways, I'm just going to use the K&N. I've had good luck with them in the past. I know some people knock them, but you know, I like the fact that I can reuse it. And then just, oil change and whatnot, just to, get everything ready to go for the road trip. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get to work on getting the rear taken apart and getting the new blocks installed. All right, so before I put this thing up in the air, here's how it sits now. Like I said, I mean, it's probably level. It may be very, very slightly lower in the back. But I did notice, last time I was off-roading it, that, like the visibility over the hood, it is slightly different when you're coming up like downhill on obstacles and you're trying to see. It is like you're pitched a little bit more upward. I kind of miss having the rake where I could actually see a little bit better in front of me. So I am going to go up a little bit higher in the back, and that should hopefully resolve that. My driveway does slope there a little bit for the drain, so that may be throwing the view off a little. But yeah, I do think it is slightly low in the back at this point, so time to go up. All right, on jack stands, pulled the rear tires off, and I am rotating at the same time, so what you see there is what was the right rear, and then waiting to go on the right front is what was on the left rear, because I'm doing a four tire swap for the rotation. I don't rotate the spare because I don't have a matching rim. So yeah, it's you do the two front tires go straight back, and then the rears go to the diagonal fronts when you do the rotation with a 4 tire. So I got that going. Now I'm going to start loosening everything up on the rear suspension and get this thing ready to swap the spacers. All right, update time. I went ahead, I loosened up and removed the bolts for the sway bar on both sides just to free things up. Same with the shocks, both those were loosened and removed. Came over to this side, I also loosened both bolts for the panhard bar, the track bar. I didn't do that last time, and I was thinking that might have been causing some of my binding issues where I wasn't able to get the rear end to get really low in order to get the springs in and out. So it's pretty much at the same spot now. I might have a little bit more play, but I did have to use pry bars to pry the spring a little bit just to get the spacer out. And this is what I was using. This is the Daystar. I said it's 0.75. I think it's actually like 5/8, so it's a little under 3/4 inch. So this is what was in there. It's now out on this side. That's the upper insulator that just fell down when I was removing everything. So here is what I'm going to be installing. These are the Icon 1.5. These are metal versus being rubber. So yeah, I'm putting these in, pair of them, so you can see big difference in comparison to the Daystar that was in there. So like I said, have the passenger side out, springs laying there, the upper isolators laying there. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can wrestle this thing in and see where we end up. All right, took a little bit of wrestling, but as you can see, have the spacer in on the passenger side. If you look up there, it's hard to see in the hole, but yeah, you can see the little rubber tab of the upper isolator sticking through its hole like it's supposed to. That was probably the biggest difficulty I had, because there's a lot more prying that needs to be done with this thicker spacer, and just trying to keep the upper isolator aligned while trying to get this in was definitely a pain. So now it is time to get over to the driver's side, see if I can get that one swapped. All right, and here we are, driver's side in. Again, took a lot more wrestling than the smaller spacer, but it is possible. And you can see possibly the little nub sticking up there. So isolator's where it needs to be. basically, the tools of doing this are 2 Allen breaker bars and a mallet. That's basically what you have to do, and just kind of slowly work it up and over, and once you get it ever so slightly on, just start hitting it with the mallet to move it into place. So next thing I'm gonna do is get the shocks and the sway bars hooked back up, and we'll be done with this job. All right, and job done. Put the jack underneath the axle, got it so it's off of the jack stand, so it's basically at ride height. Torqued the shocks to 75, both of the track bars to 90, and then the sway bar end links that I'd removed, which were the top ones that go to the frame, to 60. That's all foot-pounds of torque. So everything's done back here. So I'm gonna put this back on the jack stands and loosen the front wheels, lift the front, and get those tires swapped up there, get the tires put on back here, and this part of the job will be done. All right, well, here is the final result. Everything's back together. Wheels torqued to 130 foot-pounds. I mean, I think it looks like it definitely has, it at least looks very level now where it's sitting, if not a little rake. Again, I think it's part where the driveway is, so once I drive it, I'll know better, but I'm guessing it's, got a little bit more rake to it, or should, have the front end down a little bit on flat ground. I will say that based on the shock length, I think that is also going to be kind of a limitation. I did have to jack it up quite a bit to get the shocks in place. So I don't know if, shock extenders would help at all, to see if maybe I can get a little more lift out of it. I mean, it wasn't bad, so I don't really know if they would help at all, but something I might think about doing just to be safe. See if there's, any kind of extension available for the back on these things. So, but yeah, that's it for now as far as the wheel rotation and getting the rear lift in. Next is going to be getting some of the filters swapped out, the cabin filter and the main air filter. All right, next on the list is the cabin air filter. It's really, really simple to do. Open your glove box. There's a little tab that catches right here. Just push the tab back so you can clear this. And then you squeeze in the sides ever so slightly so it clears this. And then the door will fold down and you can pull it, or it just comes right off of the tracks there. And as far as getting the filter, there's the little door thing that covers it. You squeeze those 2 tabbies there and pull the filter out. This car, or this truck, has 9,600 miles on it, and it has a filthy cabin air filter. Pretty nasty. So that is why I'm replacing this. I figured it was pretty dusty from all the off-roading I'm doing, and it is definitely full of crap. So I'm gonna go grab the new filter and get it installed. All right, and this is the filter I'm using. Got a pack or a couple of these off Amazon. They are charcoal filled, so they should be really good. They had good reviews. So make sure you put it in airflow correct direction. Based on the one I pulled out, it is going downward, which makes sense. So just make sure the arrow is facing down. I'm gonna go ahead and get this installed. All right, new filter is installed. What I ended up doing, because this is not the easiest thing to install, just because you can see that the speaker enclosure overlaps it quite a bit. I basically put it in so it was short side to side and long front to back, and still had to kind of squeeze it in, and then I was able to spin it around and walk it into place, because it is going to go length side to side, short front to back. That's the proper way to install it. So just giving you a heads up, that is how I did it. It's in, it is, arrow is down. It's just the writing's facing the other way. So I'm gonna get the door on, get the glove box put back in, and that'll be job done on the air cleaner, or the cabin air cleaner. All right, and here we go, reinstalled. Just make sure when you do put it back in that you get the track in on this side in the right place. That's your soft close, soft open mechanism. And then, like I said, here's the overlapping tab that you need to get behind it, and then closes and soft open-ish. You can feel it kind of weighted. So that is job done. All right, next up's the air filter. This should be pretty easy. A couple of screws that hold the cover on and whatnot. Just get those loosened up and cover off and swap filters. All right, 4 screws removed on the box, as well as just loosened up the clamp on the hose assembly, and here is the filter. Actually, it looks better than I thought it would. It's not too terribly bad. This is definitely a monster of a filter, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and replace it anyway, because I have the K&N for it, and it is definitely dirty. So go ahead and get those swapped now. All right, and here's the new K&N. Same shape as the other one, just a little bit thinner. And that is the part number if you're interested. I'm gonna go ahead and get this installed. All right, everything buttoned back up, pretty straightforward. Also cleaned off the paint and added the little do not discard sticker that it comes with, because that's perforated plastic. There's no way it's gonna stick and stay. It's gonna stay a lot better up there. So that is it as far as the 2 filters that I have to get done on this car. Next thing I'm gonna do is top off the tires, because I haven't checked the pressure since I went off-roading last, and it's warmed up and whatnot, and being I'm gonna be getting on the road, I want to make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be. Thankfully, I have the onboard air, so I'll just use that wonderful ARB compressor and chuck that's located underneath the hood and go ahead and get everything topped up to pressure. All right, tire pressure set at 38 PSI since it's a little bit warmer today and it's pretty sunny out. I know 37 is what the manual calls for. And I topped off the washer fluid. That's all I'm gonna get done today. I'm waiting on the oil filter. I ordered a Wix one online. My local auto parts store doesn't carry that brand, and I am a fan of Wix. So that's due in the next day or two. Once I get that, I'll get the oil changed, and then we will be ready for our road trip. So it's the next day, and I'm still waiting to get the filter in the mail. I did just go ahead and get oil. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going through all of the hinges, and this is kind of a maintenance thing. For removing the doors, there's the bushings that you have to remove from the top and bottom of the hinge, as well as one bolt that holds the door stay in the A-pillar, or the B-pillar for the rear. I'm going ahead and removing all of those. So I've already done the driver's side, but it'll be this, and then that bolt. And I'm just putting some oil on the threads of the bolt there, and then down the barrel of the 2 lower bushings. It's just so these things don't seize up over time, just to make life easier for removing the doors in the future. Plus, just I'm taking the doors off at the same time, just making sure everything's free and there's no issues. So just a little maintenance thing that I'm taking care of today while I'm waiting to get the last filter I need to replace my oil and filter. All right, so it's been a few days, and here I am working on the truck again. Got my filter, got my oil. As you can see under there, I already pulled out the drain plug and have drained the oil pan. It's just dripping the last little bits right now. It's a 13mm socket to get that off. As you can see there, I have the oil filter cap. Oil filter, as I'm sure you are aware, is located up here. Takes a 24mm socket to remove that. So I pulled that off, pulled the filter off of the upper cap because it stays attached to that. So I'm going to go ahead and install a new O-ring on the filter cap. I've already removed the old one with a little X-Acto knife, came right off. And then yeah, that is the filter I'm using, Wix WL110 XP. It comes with the O-ring for the cap and then the new filter. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that installed and torqued and then refill it with oil. All right, and here you can see O-ring is installed on the cap. New filters clipped into place and snapped into place. It's just, a little bit of pressure goes in. I did wipe some oil on that upper O-ring as well as the O-ring that goes on the bottom. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and get this installed into the housing there and get everything tightened down. All right, and here we are, all torqued. I torqued it to 25 Newton meters because that is what it says on the cap. Pretty straightforward, tells you what to do. So that is installed and torqued. I'm just gonna wipe things up a little bit, and I'll go underneath and put the drain plug back in and then fill this thing up and we'll be good. All right, back underneath, clean things off with a shop wipe. Reinstalled the plug, torqued it to 20 foot-pounds, all set down here. So now it's just as simple as putting 5 quarts in the fill. All right, and I am a fan of Mobil 1 synthetic for my daily drivers. More performance-oriented cars, I tend to run Redline, but for this, I think it's gonna be good enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in all 5 quarts, 0W20 Mobil 1 synthetic. Get it all installed, fire it up, check the level, and should be good to go. All right, all 5 quarts are in. One last thing I'm gonna do before I fire it up and let it run for a bit and then do a final check. I've got my catch can here. I'm gonna go ahead and empty this. I do try and empty it like every other fuel fill up pretty much because it fills up fast, especially when it's colder out and there's a lot more condensation. So I'm gonna go ahead, unscrew it, drain it, put it back on, and then go ahead, start it, and check my levels. All right, fired it up, have oil pressure, so that's good. Just gonna let it run another minute. One other thing I do with every oil change is also put in a bottle of injector cleaner, fuel cleaner, something along those lines. I normally go with Lucas or Techron, you know, whatever the local auto parts store has. So I'm gonna be due to fill this thing up with gas for my trip. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some of that in when I fill it up. So let me go ahead and get over to the screen, and then I can reset the oil maintenance. All right, so toggled through the vehicle information screens, got to the oil life. I was at 60%. Gonna hit hold OK, hold it down, and it should reset to 100. Oh, I gotta wait till the car is off, or the vehicle's off. So let me do that. All right, we're in the run position. And now we'll try. There we go, reset to 100. So that is good to go. And then this is the screen I normally keep it on, is tire pressure. So I'm gonna throw it there. They're a little bit out of whack because it's hot outside and the sun's blaring on one side, not the other. But yeah, so that is it as far as this little tune-up goes. All right, let it sit a few minutes. Check the oil. It's about halfway on the crosshatch pattern, which is pretty much what I expect because it is sitting at an angle, canted backwards. So it does make sense that it may not be reading perfectly full. If I put it on level ground, it probably would. So I think I'm pretty good right there. You know, I may check it again when I go to the gas station and fill up just to be sure. If I need to add any, I will. But according to the guide and everything, it's 5 quarts is what it needs with a filter, and that's what's in it. So that being said, I think I am going to call this a video. You know, pretty nice overview of some maintenance items that are needed. Of course, there's an airplane going over right now as I'm trying to speak, so hopefully you can hear me. But yeah, very happy with how things turned out as far as the ride height goes. And we are all prepped to go on our trip. So if you like what you see, if you have anything that you're taking away from this, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please hit the notification bell. There will be future upgrades on this truck. It's it's something I enjoy driving, and I plan on doing quite a bit more to it. So if you have any questions or comments about anything I've done, please leave them in the comment section. I do review them and I will reply. That being said, thank you for watching and have a great day.